Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our March 18th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Meneghini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes? Here. Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Babalani?
Here.
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 4th. Any additions or corrections?
I had one correction, or under my council comments, it said about purchase of land, that should be annexation. Where is it?
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be annexation.
Okay.
So with that correction, I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Mark. Roll call.
Mr. Meneghini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2013-06 in the amount of $312,673.56. Mark, any questions?
I got a couple. Page 1, under the police department, I see there's, for March 2013, Mary, there's a charge for Fred's insurance, and then there's a credit for $468.
He's allowed so much under the retiree's insurance, and his insurance is actually less than that.
Okay.
So we run it through the full amount, and then what he would be reimbursing us, we run that through again as a credit.
Okay. I was looking on page 2, and under the trash collection, the refuge tipping fee is just under, or the refuge tipping fee is just over half of the recycling containers, Ray? Is there anything that we could do with that to get some money out of that recycling versus paying to get it?
Well, when we decided to handle recycling ourselves down there, we did mention that that was going to be a cost to us to run that program. Monitoring that would be, controlling that a little better would help in lowering that cost. But that's really it's a cost system. We're not going to be able to get any revenues out of that.
There's nobody that purchases that stuff? I know they purchase
Well, we have an
cardboard for
agreement
plastics.
with GAD. We're in the authority, so
Okay.
we must go through that authority. So we're basically collecting it instead of having it collected at the county's system. It's a benefit for the residents.
Okay, do they sell it back? Do you know? I know
They
we're an authority.
put it out on the market. They have an agreement where
It's
they
hard to
sell it.
believe it's half of the cost of the actual tipping.
Well, that's a cost for picking it up. It's just like trash,
Oh,
so.
okay.
So that's why it's based on like a tipping fee.
Okay. On page 5, I'm still against the meter charge for multicolor. I know we talked about that, but I still have a problem with that. That's all I have.
Chris?
Page 4, under the cable, there's a charge for special election supplies for $639.
We corrected that.
Okay.
That was in the wrong account.
And then on page 5, Joe's not here, but under electric, utility sales and service for $7,086. Just wondering what was,
That was inspection on cables. It's a mandatory inspection we have for,
that was just inspection, there was no repairs or anything done?
I believe it was just inspection.
So $7,000 for one vehicle?
Mary, do you know if they had repairs in that?
I don't know, we'll have to pull that bill.
We'll have to pull the bill. We'll get back to you on that.
It just seems high for just inspection, because I know it
Well,
normally.
they go through it pretty thoroughly, so the inspections are expensive, but
Didn't we have to run that truck down to Green Bay?
I believe so, yeah.
Appleton.
Appleton.
I'll pull that and we'll get back to
Okay.
you.
That's all I had.
Lee?
That was one of my questions. Peterson Welding, page 2.
Repair, frame, bumper, fender, repair, straps, box, 2 welding jobs for almost $1,100. Was something damaged there or just maintenance?
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing.
It's right in the middle. It's repair
Page
to
2, right in the middle. 2
103?
Peterson weldings. Yeah, truck 103.
Probably both. Probably both. That truck, I believe, it's got some body.
Okay, and then I've been harping on this for almost 3 years now, and we've got the cost down. AT&T bills, we're still paying them almost $600 a month. It was over $2,000 monthly 3 years ago, and it's coming down, and the only thing left now, there's another $600 for that circuit system set up for the water, the VoIP system or whatever that is. When are we gonna get that done where we're on our own and we can get away from them?
Well, we need to bring the computer, the SCADA system proposals to council for approval and moving forward. I think we're pretty close to doing that at this point, but that's we're gonna have to have that in place before.
It seems like this has been going on forever, Ray. I mean, that's
Well, it is, but-
$986.
Remember, we had the fiber work that we had to get done as well, tying in, so it's been a process. We've also been trying to have some communications with AT&T, because that bill actually went up to over $800. So it's just been, it's
Yeah,
gone
we-
up over
we
400%,
gotta get away
I think, in
from
over a year, right, just a little over a year. So there's some question mark on that, too.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Hayes.
No other questions.
I have no other questions. The only comment I'd like to make is of the 113,552 of that was purchase power.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve manifest 2013-06 in amount of $312,673.56.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Okay, does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on any agenda item? If not, there'll be a further time for question and answer on any subject at the end of the meeting. Okay, we have 4 items on our communications for this evening. The first one is Resolution 2013-10, City of Norway Recreation Passport Grant Application. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The resolution that we have before you is for the 2013 Michigan Department of Natural Resources Recreational Passport Grant Application. This application is due April 1st. It's the same application that we put in last year, and this will be used for the tennis courts. The total project is $60,000 with a grant. We're requesting a maximum grant, $45,000. That's maximum for the program. That would leave $15,000 of local, which we have programmed in kind to handle that. I guess is there any questions from the council?
That 15,000 in kind, that's just gonna be
That's going to be
labor.
basically
We're
site
not gonna have
work.
any cash outlay?
No,
whatsoever.
that's the site work that we're going to do before they start on the main.
Are we providing any materials, or are we just providing the actual?
Only material that we might provide, we're not going to provide the gravel. It'll be anything below gravel.
We were supposed to get some help from the school.
I think we're going to go and request from the school as we go along once we get the grant. I did request from the school, and, they had indicated at the time that I made the request that they wanted to wait until we were into the project to see where they were standing with their budget. So I did talk to them. They're not against working with us on it, but they're not able to commit at this point to any kind of dollar figure. So,
It would be nice that we got a little bit of a commitment beforehand, because once we get started, they can say, no, we can't really help you, and then it's the city's ball.
right. I agree, Mark, but I don't think I can get that commitment right now. So I don't know if we want to hold up the project, because, this is something viewed from the Recreation Committee and the focus groups that I met with I met with the kids, the student councils, you know, they all thought that we ought to move forward. You know, of course, those folks don't have they're sitting on the board, you know, with the budget up there, you know, that's something that we'll have to just continue to discuss with them.
Is the in-kind work, is that just dirt work, or is that moving and lighting and?
No, that's just basically the groundwork.
And we have the sand available from some of
Yes.
the projects?
Yeah, we do.
Does this project include the proposed parking?
Yes, it does include the parking area.
I would like to see something on the lighting and pulling power to that area, that new area.
In this plan, or was there plans to light this?
No, there's no plans on the lighting at this time.
So there's not gonna be any lighting on the new courts?
We didn't include it in this plan.
But we can have that work, you know, the prep work done to have power at least wired
Right.
to that area, so you don't
correct.
have to pick it up again.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2013-10, the MDNR Recreation Passport Grant Application.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. What did you say? Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Okay, approval of the credit card, debit card surcharge fee. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that Mary brought to my attention not too long ago, that we are now able to offer the use of the credit card for larger purchase. If you remember, when we started the credit card use, we had a problem with the company that we were using required or would not allow a percentage charge. And so on large purchases, such as the taxes, we would be losing money. And under new legislation, they're actually allowed to, or to provide a percentage-based. Mary, I don't know if you have any comments on that, but basically what we're asking council is to approve allowing us to use or have the credit debit card usage with a percentage charge of 1.5%.
It's more fair. I mean, somebody comes in and, you know, pays a $25 parking ticket, and they're paying the same fee as, you know, somebody paying their tax bill. In the past, some of the cards did not allow a percentage, so we chose not to go with a percentage on some and a flat fee on others. We just did the flat fee. Now, there are still some cards, like your prepaids, that you can't do it to, but it'll all be programmed into our machine. We don't have to buy a new machine, we can use the one we have. And you can see by the chart I gave you that our fees have been running about 1.5%, right around there. So that's what I recommend we do. Then we could go back to taking taxes, because in the past, if somebody came in, we had a guy come in and pay $10,000 in taxes, and you only pay a $3 fee. It doesn't cover our fees.
Well, was it last year, didn't you stop that totally for taxes, credit cards?
Yeah, when we went to the flat fee, we decided, I think we did the flat fee for a year and then decided to not take taxes.
In looking at this, though, Mary, 7 of the 12 months in your report here, we were above the 1.5%. It looks like only February of 2012 is what pulled the number down.
Yeah, and what I did, Jeremy, is I just kind of looked at what our annual averages, you know, figured I don't think we're there to make money, we just want to cover our costs, is what I was thinking.
I guess I'm for leaving it the way it was, because I sat down and figured it out, and if you went with the amount that we would have collected versus the amount that we did collect and averaged it out, it comes out to $108 per month. And I think my train of thought is that people are less apt to stick the city if they use their cards to pay their utility bill. And I was watching on the dates here on the graph that you had, Mary, and it seems like the majority of the charges are right in the Christmas area when they're using them. And, you know, we could be into the shut-off mode if people don't want to use it for that extra charge. And, you know, if they're not using their credit cards because of that little bit of difference in the thing, the city has to wait for their money.
We do see you know, it goes in spurts, but we do see during the holidays, higher users will go. Because people will use their credit card if it means having something shut off.
Chris, Lee, Dr. Hayes?
I think I'm gonna have to go along with Mary on this one, seeing as she highly recommends going this way.
Well, I think that'll give us the option of going back to the taxes. A lot of people don't care about the fees because they're doing it to get whatever points they might be able to get on their
And
credit
that
card.
1.5% will cover everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that the percentage is fair, and I think that any way we can collect money from our customers.
Are we gonna know, like you said, some of the prepaids and that they can't?
There's very few cards, like a prepaid debit card, you cannot put a surcharge on that at all. You can't do it either way. And when he came in and explained it to me, he will program that all into the machine, because one of the stipulations of the new legislation is that it's on your receipt what that surcharge is. It needs to print out on the machine, so our machines will be reprogrammed for that. So these prepaid cards, if somebody does come in with one of those, it'll automatically be set up to not charge them type.
Is it, if we're gonna be charging a percentage, is it something that we could adjust the bill to show if somebody was gonna pay it by a credit card to be right on the bill so they knew coming in what they were gonna pay?
We could look into that. We could look at that.
About how many automatic pays do you have, like from snowbirds and people like that?
On credit card, I would say we've got probably in the neighborhood of 50 to 70, somewhere in there. And that's why I suggested we wait till May 1st, because we want the option or the ability to let them know that we're gonna change it. I don't recommend changing it immediately. We've got to post it. I think it's Visa, has a 30-day notice that you have to post it to your customers.
With that automatic, or with that percentage difference, do you think that's gonna affect the automatic payers? And versus if it does, you're gonna have to handle more paperwork in the office with those 50 to 70 people, and that's gonna put more load on the staff?
I don't think it'll be a big difference, because a lot of the people that are using it are the people that aren't in town, and their bills are low in the winter, so I think they're actually gonna save money. I think their 1.5 is gonna be below the $3 that we're charging now.
So they don't actually use it year-round, they just have it
Some
set
do and
up?
some don't. Some use it when they're gone, some use it year round. But a $200 bill is where you're gonna see, that's when you're gonna be at the $3. And right now, that's what we're charging on the flat fee, so I think some of them are gonna be below that threshold and actually save money.
Are we gonna run into problems with that, where if we're gonna be taking in less revenue with the 1.5%? Are we gonna be making it up on higher?
Yes.
So there's ones now where the 3 doesn't cover what the actual bill is.
But do you think the people with the higher bills are not gonna pay by credit card?
I think
Because if the people,
you're gonna have some that will.
if the people that with the higher bills don't pay by credit card, like Jeremy says, you're actually gonna be
Yeah, but
closer
if they
to.
don't use credit card, then your fees aren't gonna be as high. Our fees won't be as high if they're not using their card. I think the 1.5 will cover our costs, and I even put in there, I think it's something we'll reevaluate each year when we do the budget, and look at what that number has to be.
What does Iron Mountain Kingsford do?
don't know.
I tried to call there today, but they didn't answer the phone. You don't know?
I did not talk to any of them. I could put it out on the treasurer's listserv. You get input from all over. You know, if we want to hold off doing this, I can find out what other communities are doing. I know there are a lot of communities that don't take credit cards at all. But I don't know what the other ones are charging.
I think it's
Well,
a good step in the right direction. I mean, we can always adjust the percentage as we go forward. If we see that we're not covering our fees,
Right.
we can change that. If we do this, though, I think that we should have it at least stated on the bills that if you do use a credit card, this is going to be the percentage charge on there, so people are aware of it.
Yeah.
This would also be in our annual rate resolution.
The only concern I have with the 1.5 is 1 month spiked it to 1.5. That February 2012 being so much lower than every other month. I'm just concerned that that's not going to cover it.
And you could be right for that month.
But I mean, but just overall, that month spiked the average low, because it's
Right.
so much lower than every other month.
Well, there's several that are below 1.5 too.
And
That's,
like I
that's
said,
my only concern with the 1.5, is that going to cover, because that 1 month spiked it to the,
And I guess what we can do is just, monitor it and see where we're coming in. If we need to change it, we can adjust it.
Unless you want to start at 1.6%. If that's more comfortable.
I don't know where it would need to be, that's just, I would feel better with that, something a little more than, because when you look at it, the average is what it is because of that 1 month. Otherwise, it would have been above 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick glance, if you take that one out of there, it's probably going to be closer to 1.6.
Well, there's several below 1.5. I'd say half are below and half are above, or half are right.
Usually under good statistics, they take the highest and lowest and throw them out. You could run up.
I can live with the 1.5, and I think we should keep doing it because it is a good convenience. Speaking as a citizen myself, I love doing this. I just throw everything on a credit card. If nothing else, I can wait another 30 days before I have to pay for it. But I think I can live with the 1.5.
Okay, any other questions, comments? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the credit debit card surcharge fees at 1.5%.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Ocha?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is approval electric department contract labor. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that we've been looking at for a couple months now with our pending contract negotiations with our IBW electrical group and some of the retirements and resignations that we've had over the last month and a half. We went out and solicited proposals from a couple of different electrical contractor type companies, and to see what kind of labor rates they would give for contract labor. And this is to stopgap. This is to fill the crew until we are able to finalize our agreement, with the union. And what we're asking council is the ability to move forward here in the next few weeks to at least bring in 1, 2, or possibly 3 people in order to fill our crew until we can get that contract negotiated. Right now, the company out of Wisconsin called Energis, they're a IBW signatory contractor. They have given us a rate of $67 an hour for a built-up rate, all-in rate for a journeyman lineman, and $61 an hour for a substation tech, utility tech employee. And again, that's all built up. That includes that's all the labor costs associated in that number. All we would do is they would work in the crew. We would provide the tools and equipment for them.
With this, are we allowed to do this within our current contract with the IBW?
Yes, there's a contracting provision within the agreement, and because they're IBW signatory, they're an IBW signatory employer, we're allowed to do this.
Now, are these going to be linemen that we're going to have here full-time, or just pulled on an as-needed basis?
They'll be here full-time during a period of time that we have estimated to complete this process with the contract negotiations. So,
They would be living local in the area then?
yeah, they'll be living here in the community while they're on this assignment. What we're planning to do is we recommend that even if we were to agree to the contract within the next couple of weeks, getting through that process, then advertising and bringing people in, we're probably still looking at 3 months process. So we're probably looking at this through the end of this fiscal year.
So there's nothing wrote down if we're getting 2 guys, 3 guys, 1 guy?
We're-
It looks like 2 or 3.
We're asking for 3, the ability to go up to 3. We're going to start right away with getting somebody in, 1 to 2, getting them in right away.
How many weeks, roughly, you're thinking? Or you have no idea?
I'm thinking that the whole process will take probably through the rest of this fiscal year, through June. And then, and we'll have budget hearings coming up here shortly, and we're going to be drilling down more into the cost factor.
So these are union acceptable? They're just in the same union as our men?
Yes, they're signatory to the IBW.
Okay. Are they going to be carrying the pager?
Yes. Yes. They're
Are
in
they
the
going to be
rotation.
familiar with our system enough to carry the pager?
I believe they will be.
With the hydro too?
That's one of the reasons we wanted to get them in right away, is to get them familiar with the hydro.
I got my doubts on having them take the pager for the hydro. We got a lot of money down there. I know they're certified people. We got a lot of money invested down there, and we got a lot at stake to throw them in there with the pager for a short term.
Well, the advantage is Joe is close to there, and if they have questions, I'm sure they'll be calling Joe.
Yeah.
That's another problem that I have that I wanted to bring up at the last meeting. I do strongly feel that Joe should be carrying the pager. He's got the truck. That's why he takes the truck home, to have access to the
But that
vehicle
would be a
for the...
violation of their agreement.
It would be a violation of their agreement?
That would be a violation of their agreement,
For the union agreement?
correct.
It's
Per
a-
the IBW electrical agreement, that would be a violation
It's
of
a
their...
benefit, it's a pay benefit to the employees in the IBW.
Be taking their overtime.
Otherwise, it could be done?
Well, that would have to be,
I mean, without pay increase to Joe, because he does take it, and that's why he has the truck, is when I sat on for the contract, so he would have access to go back and forth to the hydro if we needed him. And I think we should utilize that.
Like I said, we can't have him carry the pager because it would violate our current collective bargaining agreement, because it would be taking a benefit from the union employees.
But if the substation technician is there and he has a problem,
He can call Joe.
he can call Joe.
Yep.
Or if for whatever the reason, nobody can come, Joe can go.
our current guys do that.
So why would you not want to have
Perfect.
Joe carry the pager and save $300 and some a week?
Because he can't.
Can Joe carry the pager? Does anybody know?
At this point, he cannot, per the agreements.
He can carry a pager, but not the pager.
Jeremy?
He can't go into that, per the agreement, he can't go into that rotation.
Right, okay, that's what I'm saying, is that he can be paged, but he can't be carrying the pager in a rotation.
Right. They'll call him, he comes out. If they need help, they call him, he comes out,
Yeah, right.
which is what happens now.
Yeah, so,
He comes down on almost all the calls now.
I don't understand why we don't save money and have him in the pager rotation if we can.
Because our attorneys say we can't. Our attorneys say we can't. He's not our attorney. Our attorneys say he can't.
Okay.
Okay?
Good evening. My name is Mark Maloney. I'm a resident of Iron Mountain. I am presently the acting business manager of IBW Local 219. I represent 2 units that work for the city of Norway. I've reviewed our contract, and it's my understanding that under management rights in the contract, the on-call and standby provisions, and the emergency call-outs, that in a stopgap measure, as a short-term basis and in emergency situations, Joe would be,
In an emergency situation, not a rotation situation.
but under the on-call procedure, it talks about the rotation. And like I said, this would not be a fix. It would be a temporary situation, a stopgap situation.
This isn't an emergency.
To help augment the staffing situation the city's in right now.
I'm sorry, but we don't need to take your advice on this. We have our own attorneys involved.
Okay.
Our attorneys advise against it because it is not an emergency. In an emergency situation, yes, he can carry the pager. This is not an emergency.
Well, I just wanted to bring up the point that we see that you have options. The city does have options to
It
exercise.
does look like an emergency to me if we're understaffed.
Thank you for letting me address the council.
Again, irregardless of whether Joe carries the pager, he would still only be 3 people into the rotation. It is my understanding that the current employees are not even happy with 3 in the rotation. That is why we're suggesting the contracting on a short-term basis to provide additional personnel, for that rotation. And the current employees still contact Joe when there's a problem at the hydro, and he does go out for those calls. So it's my opinion, a management opinion, that the new people coming in would be more than capable of handling the calls, and that he still will be involved with them on a regular basis. So,
What would happen if they couldn't get a hold of Joe? If you had, I got a real concern with putting somebody hasn't been around the hydro that long in charge of our electric, and if they don't get a hold of Joe.
to my knowledge, they haven't had trouble getting a hold of Joe.
I hate to be in the office if something happens like that, Ray.
Do we have an obligation in this contract to give them so many hours? Or is it just when we have people on staff, we can let them go?
Under the agreement, the current agreement, the right to work language for a supervisor working is very specific.
Oh, no, I
that-
mean, I'm just in regards to the contract, the contracted employees
No,
of this company.
second
Are we
meeting.
contracted for a certain minimum amount of hours we have to use their men? Or-
No. There's, we're telling them that they're going to be in a typical, crew rotation, 40 hours per week. So that's the expectation out of the contract, but
I'm just saying, if we do get the contract done earlier and get the language in there,
our intent is to try and bring employees into the department, but we need to move forward here in the next 2 months, and until that contract is negotiated, this is our recommendation.
I would also suggest that we start advertising now, because it may take a while to find somebody.
We can, but until the contract is finalized, we're not sure what to tell people that are contacting us as far as the benefits package. So, that's problematic in getting and attracting people.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? If not, we're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that Energis High Voltage Resources Incorporated be contracted to provide contract labor at a price of $67 per hour for journeyman linemen and $61 per hour for substation tech, utility tech.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee.
Mr.
Roll call.
Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
No.
Okay, last thing on the communications for this evening, approval, compost site operation and location. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The last item on the agenda is an issue that we've been talking about for a number of months, dating back to the fall, about and working through the Norway Area Planning Commission about a joint compost site between the city of Norway and Norway Township. We've looked at a couple of sites, one being at the golf course, another at the cemetery. We did look at some minor sites that were discounted, and it was the opinion of the Planning Commission that we should move forward with our current site, which is located at the wastewater treatment plant. This was voted in unanimously at the last Planning Commission meeting, and a request was to bring it to council and the township board to get final approval so that staff knows which direction finally we're pushing forward on getting a site prepared. I've given you information on that, some reasonings behind the current location. There's a recognition that there is double handling, which was part of the issue. However, there were other issues in the other sites that became more problematic than that double handling issue. The site development costs in this site were going to be less than the other sites, and for example, the site at the cemetery, I think there was some concern that having that activity traveling through the middle of the cemetery was not going to be acceptable, especially to the families that have the graves that are next to the road. So we're requesting council approval to move forward so that staff can plan and prepare to prepare the compost site.
And say they also looked at the site behind the golf course where we do composting now. To make that feasible, they would have to cut a road in, and the road was going to be, I believe it was $30,000 to get that site prepped.
We thought that, yeah, costly.
And we also looked at the site, it's an old city gravel pit to the north, but we felt that was too far out. And with the proposal is to have a person staff it and have restricted hours, that we would run into issues with people just dumping stuff out there. It's too far out to really be monitored when we don't have an attendant there. And generally for the residents, it was too far out to, people wouldn't be willing to go that far out because it was right at the far north border of the city limits. So in Planning Commission's discussion, they came back to this site being the best possible site, in their opinion. With the brush, if there is an attendant there and it's monitored, they felt that they could have, it would be cleaner, and they might be able to sell the brush rather than, or have it done at no cost, rather than, because you would get clean fuel, the Kerry Logging or Gunville, whoever came in could get clean fuel out of it, rather than the problems we had where it was a lot of sand mixed in, there was stumps, there was concrete, there was rocks. You wouldn't have that with an attendant, somebody watching when they were hauling in and where they were dumping. You could also direct the site better to make sure things are better handled, and there would be some double handling of the grass and leaves still, because it would have to be held to where we're composting now. But
And we had talked about the possibility of expanding that site so that we could start a compost heap right there and not have to double handle it. So it's a possibility that once we start doing the work down there, that nothing will have to be double handled if it's set up properly and maintained.
And as it said in here, if we do go into something joint, the township will, if they approve it on their end, will pick up 50%, so it'll be a 50-50 split of the costs.
Well, it's nice that we got the township in with us.
And it's still, and they still have to approve it at their meeting, so whether this moves forward tonight or with theirs, we'll have to see.
When is their meeting?
Next Tuesday, or next Monday.
Next Monday?
That $30,000 to put the road in, none of that can be done in-house? We're doing excavation for the park out there by the tennis courts.
Yeah, that was material price. That wasn't including
That
our
was material price.
labor. Yeah, that was material, the gravel, the fencing, the amount of fencing. There was also a concern that we had limited space out there, actually, because we have rows and rows of compost there right now. And there's really not as much space as you think when you start bringing everything in. So that was some concern.
Is it going to come into play if we have to expand the filtration plant down the road, that all the money we're putting into the compost site by the filtration plant is going to be wasted?
Well, our expansion right now is heading west, not east. And what we're doing is, the type of money that we're putting into it is really looking at cleaning up the area that we're using and expand to the area just to the north of that. So, and then some fencing gates just where you come in. So we think that our number is probably a little on the high side. We don't think that that's going to take as much. It definitely won't take as much to put in for that. You know, the cemetery site was really a good site from a cost standpoint, because we didn't really have to do much. The problem is that I think it's just really sensitive to have everybody coming through with their compost right past, you know, someone's family gravesite. And I just think that that's just going to be an issue. That'd be problematic.
I just think we're committing ourselves to double handling this material for a long time. And it's going to override the cost of putting the road in, because you wouldn't have to double handle any material.
Well, I think the eventual goal is that we don't have to double handle it, that we're gonna get a compost pile started there, and it's just all gonna stay there. There might be some moving of stuff, but if it's monitored, you know, we should have a lot cleaner compost coming into that place. That's the thought process. And we had a long discussion in the planning commission about this, that the idea was to get it to a point that we could get the brush mulched and either sold or taken away for no cost, and then the possibility of starting a compost pile that we can eventually turn into soil. So there was several discussions about making sure that we could reduce our costs and not having to double handle this.
I would think making a compost pile by the nursery would be the best idea, but
Well, it's definitely going to have to be closely monitored. I think that's going to be the key to it.
Part of the recommendation of the planning commission was looking at it was that there'd be restricted days, what days we haven't worked out, they haven't come to yet, what they think it should be, but have an attendant there, have it only open like, say, Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday night, Saturday, and Sunday, or something like that, and have an attendant there those times to monitor everything coming in.
Now, even if the site is expanded a little bit, is that still in the city limits, or is that township? Because that's awful close right there.
That's in the township.
That's township. So then if we can have the sheriff's department monitor it also then, if that's township,
That's their jurisdiction.
it's their jurisdiction.
Yes.
I think the other nice thing about this site too is that besides the fact that we're using the existing site, people are familiar with it, but there's also utilities down there that if we did need to set up a camera or something, it'd be pretty easy and cost effective to do that versus the other sites that we were considering.
as far as the monitoring, is that going to be done by one of our employees, or are we going to bring in somebody part-time? Because I'd hate to have one of our employees monitoring that and have to pay benefits and wages for sitting there watching a compost pile.
The plan was to hire somebody part-time,
Okay.
at least the recommendation. Their recommendation was to hire somebody part-time too. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I'll make a motion then that the WWTP location be approved to house the Norway area compost site.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
No.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. That's all of our business this evening. Does anyone from the audience wish to come up and address the council on any topic? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes. Anyone want to address the council?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ron Vivio. I'm the first house on Prairie Lane. The last time I addressed the city council was the first Monday in February of 2012. And the purpose for me being there that night was to address my name not being in the city phone, or in the AT&T phone directory for a period of 3 years from the time that I signed up for the City of Norway phone service. I know that Mr. Anderson keeps you well abreast of all concerns that the city of Norway customers have. But I have a couple letters here that I had my lawyer draw up for me. Mr. Anderson has one already. So does Mr. Oliveris. I'll give you a couple minutes to look at those.
Okay.
Everybody done? Thank you for at least taking a look at what I brought in for you. At that time of January 2012, I was very concerned about my name not being in the phone book. And this had been an ongoing thing for 3 years. And I'd pay my city bill myself, and I'd ask every time I'd go in what the development was on the phone book. And I'd always get a response, positive. It was going to be there next time, no problem. Well, if you're familiar with the way the phone book works, AT&T, the guru of phone book producers, is responsible for all listings in the phone book. It comes out once a year in June. Well, that's the big book. The little book is the or the Niagara phone directory, which most people use in this area, which comes out in January. So you get the Niagara book in January, the AT&T book for June, okay? For 3 years, my name was not in the book. And as you all know that I run a small landscaping business out of my home. I got some equipment there. I got a dump truck. I got a couple bobcats. I haul dirt. Keeps me busy. I'm a retired teacher. And it supplements the income that I have for that. I probably couldn't afford to live there if I didn't have that extra income. Okay? Well, my income has been substantially reduced while my name was not located in the phone book. I had customers call me or call relatives. Where is he? What did he die or not around? Is he too good to put his name in the book anymore? What's the story? Well, again, every time I come in and address the people that work in the office, I get the same story. It's going to be there. On several occasions, compensation was brought up by Mrs. Pollard, by Mrs. Schultz in the office, and even Ray Anderson. After the phone, and by the way, Mr. Pickard is responsible for getting my name in the phone book. He made enough calls to the right people to get my name in there. And hats off to Mr. Pickard if he was here tonight. Anyways, in June of 2012, my name went back in the book. It's still wife's name is not listed in there. My name is listed in there with every other Vivio in Norway, of course, but my wife's is not there. Well, my wife is a professional person also who would like to have her name in the book. That's never been addressed yet. In July, I came in and approached, this is after I thanked Mr. Pickard for getting my name in the book. Talked to a couple council members that asked me in the street, is your name in the book? Yep, it's good. Took care of it. But the idea of compensation for loss of revenue was never addressed. Or it was addressed, but it was just kind of, I was promised a lot of things. Promises. We'll give you. But I never got anything. Then, to top it off, I came in January of this past year, which is about 4 months after everything was taken care of. My name was in the book. I was somewhat content. And I approached Tricia Plant, what's happening with my compensation for the phone directory issue? She came out and she says, you get nothing, not a nickel. This is after promises made several times by some key officials from the city of Norway. I think the second letter there is what really irritated me the most. It's from J. Oliveris. I think he and Mr. Anderson think I run the Mall of America up on the corner of Pine Creek and at Kearney Lane. It's not the Mall of America, gentlemen. It's a place where I store my equipment. Nobody comes there. Occasionally someone might come to pay me, but that's where I work out of my home. I love tractors. I've always been a tractor lover. That's how I compensate my use of tractors, is by making a few extra bucks to help me support that little enterprise, the American dream that I have. But, again, we live in a money world today. When I watch the city council meeting on TV, we live in a money world. Your suppliers, you go after them like you wouldn't believe when they do not perform up to your expectations. Now I'm approaching you to help me compensate me for my losses, because you, as my supplier of the telephone, did not follow through. Any questions on it?
I can say from talking to staff, talking to Mr. Anderson, talking to Jay, we don't control the phone book. Every year.
Did I say you did?
Every year, but you're blaming us for the
Did I
name.
say you-
You're blaming, let me finish. You're blaming us for it not being in there. Every year, we took every step we needed to take to get it in there. We did did the contacts we had to do, we did the forms we had to do, we did everything we had to get it in there. When it wasn't in there, that is beyond our control.
Okay. When I approached the people in the office on the very first day, that was one of the questions that I asked month after month. Will my name be in the phone book? Yes. Everything will be the same. Do I look that dumb that I would ignore, I would sign up for your system if I knew that 3 years down the road I'd be sucking up to Mr. Pickard to get my name in the book?
We never intended to. There's a number
No,
of,
good intentions are lost.
yeah, but there's also a number of other ones who weren't in the book that we tried to get in the
There
same
was
way.
12 people, I was told.
The city also has a number of its numbers that are still wrong because they haven't corrected them even though we've been on them as much as we were for you. So we cannot
What are you
control.
going to do for me?
My opinion is we will do nothing for you because we cannot control the book. We did everything in our power to get your name in the book. Am I sorry it happened to you? Yes. I don't think it was right that it wasn't, but we did everything we could to make sure you would be in that book. There was no fault on the city, no fault of the employees for not doing what they needed to do.
Why did they tell me on day one when I asked, your name will not be in the book?
Because there was an assumption that when we submitted everything and everybody else's went through fine, that yours would be as well.
What was I thinking? What was I thinking? To save pennies, I lost dollars. Lots of dollars. Just like you do when you sit at your council meeting and your suppliers don't come through for you. Because I watched that on television. And for all those people out there that are watching tonight or watching the next meeting, would you please call me? Because I know there's 12 people out there that did not have their name in the book. And they were not compensated either.
Correct. But like I said, the city did everything it could to get you in
I
it.
know you did. It wasn't until Mr. Payne in April or May of last year who made enough calls to the right people that my name got in the book. Otherwise, it'd be another year went by, or maybe 2, or maybe 3, like your situation.
We made the calls before last year. We've made the calls every year to try to get this
Okay.
resolved for you.
What do you propose? Just for me to drop everything?
What you
Shake your
chose
head
to,
yes or no?
what you choose to do is your decision.
Okay? I'll walk out on you, just like I walked out on her that day when she told me you get nothing. This is after Mr. Anderson told me face to face. That just goes to show me that a person.
As I understand, in that conversation, you were offered a year.
1 year.
You rejected it because you
No, I
wanted
didn't
3
reject
or nothing. You wanted 3.
I was told
And you
3.
would not.
I was told 3.
And you would not accept 1.
I turned around, I said, well, I was hoping for more, but I'll take what I can get. And I waited 6 more months, and then I get nothing. Tell me why that is.
Because you rejected
thought
the
I-
offer at the time we made it.
What
Because
do
you
you
wanted
want?
3, not 1.
What do you want me to say? I'm upset now. I was upset then. I've had over 3 years to stew on this.
You rejected the offer when we offered 1 year. That's what I'm told by our city
Okay, I'll
manager.
take a year.
You
At
rejected
least
that
I'll
offer.
get something out of it.
You rejected that offer and it's
What do
no
you mean?
longer valid.
He approached me when I'm paying my tax, when I pay my light bill down there. And I'm complaining. And he comes up to me and he says, okay, this is what we'll do for you.
That is now, because you rejected it when he made it,
What do you
it's
want
now a
me to put
decision of the
something
council.
writing? $22,000 I lost.
It needs to be a decision of the council.
And you're gonna give me $340 some back.
At this point,
This is a money world we live in,
it
fellas.
it would need to be a decision of the council as a whole. What is everybody's opinion?
That's why I'm here tonight.
I've already told you mine. Mine's no.
Very good.
5 minutes is it?
It's like bumping heads.
What is the opinion of the council?
You can address this on your own.
Oh, I would like to get it settled right now.
All right, good.
Lee,
I'm sorry it had to happen, but as the mayor said, we did what we could do, and we can do no more. We can't control it. We told them. And now, as far as you were offered a year and you returned it down, you turned it down, Ron.
As far as him offering me a deal last July, and I go in with the idea, well, I'm looking for 3 years, and well, we'll give you 1. That's about what happened too.
Did you turn it down?
I said, well, I think I got more coming. And he walked away, and then nothing happened. For 6 more months I stand around waiting for my bill to come. Where are they gonna take it off? I go down
Dr.
once a
Hayes,
month.
what's your opinion?
I think we should proceed with our business of the meeting.
Well, what's your opinion on this subject? We need to get
I
this.
don't think we need to,
I don't think you need to address it here anyways, because like I said, I've had 3 years to stew on.
Chris,
I agree with the mayor and Mr. Anderson's response to this.
Mark,
I'm kind of going both ways. I think like Doc, I'm not sure we should address it right here.
all right, but I can tell you there was a majority of the council, 3, who said no. So
That would be you, and Lee,
and Chris,
and Chris.
that's a majority of the council. So there will be no compensation, no year, because you rejected
Thank
the
you for
initial offer.
giving me your time.
Thank you.
And one more issue I have. The roads on Norway Hill are despicable.
All right, Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else from the audience wish to address the council? If you do, please come up, state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, my name is Mark Maloney. I live at 1112 North Milwaukee Avenue in Iron Mountain, Michigan. As I stated earlier, I am the business manager of Local 219, IBEW. Good evening, council, ladies and gentlemen. Most of your agenda items tonight I've taken up that there's been money value involved in stuff. I find it just a little ironic, shall I say, that I basically offered to you that there would be no retribution by the local if you were to utilize one of your employees as a stopgap temporary measure, and yet you, as a council, decided to contract out. It's just interesting. That's all I have to say.
Well, we're not just contracting the pager, we're contracting the employees also.
Well, you did have and still do have other options.
Correct. And we're, as you know, we're in discussions right now on the contract that we really can't go into.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience wish to address the council? Hey, Lee.
Yeah, I got a few items here. I see that the Norway Elementary received a mini grant, or this walking school bus program. I'd just like to make sure we stay on top of it and keep it tied in with that Safe Routes to School, Ray, because it also says in this article that some of this funding will be for sidewalk replacement and improvements. I have the article here if you missed it.
Yeah, I'm not sure the accuracy
And
on that.
another thing, kind of general information, I see the cities in Michigan, mostly southeast Michigan, are like almost $13 billion unfunded in retiree health costs. I would like to know how much the city of Norway is in unfunded retiree health costs. You can get the figures for me next time. Let's see, and I also I'd like to see if we can get a Friends of the Park and Recreation Committee organized. I know there's work that's gonna have to be done down by the old ball field down here on the other side of the skating rink. They need help there. If we can get people to volunteer, I'd like them to call the city hall and offer their services, labor, even equipment if possible, because anything we can get done with the park and recs without paying big bucks for it would be greatly appreciated. And one other thing here in the executive memorandum you gave us, Ray, talking about the gas consumption for the city hall, DPW. I've been harping on this for many years, and Mark also has been harping on this. And you say that things are staying pretty much the same consumption-wise and dollar-wise, but wasn't that just like 3 months ago, we locked in for 45 or 44 cents, and it used to be like $1.01? Hasn't that kicked in yet?
Yeah, that's good.
Then last month, there was no reduction from last month to the previous year.
No, but you look at the CCFs and they've gone up, and a good portion of that is because of the temperatures. I mean, we've had a much colder winter coming through February and January than we did last year. If you remember, we didn't have any snow
Well,
last year.
we're gonna have to wait and see, I guess, as to
Right.
last year with this high rate that we're paying compared to whenever this year started.
Right, that's what makes it difficult. You gotta look at the CCFs.
I know the transmission costs have gone up, even though the cost of the gas has gone down. And let's see, that program for the city, for the school there, they got $4,900 for the improvement of the sidewalks and everything else involved in it. That's all I have.
Dr. Hayes.
Well, I spoke to members of the city and pointed out some of the savings that were carried out by the city employees, and I'd like to thank the city employees for making an effort. I think we all have to make an effort to make the city more economical, and I made some comments last time, I guess, that I was looking for SP2, P2, whatever it was, and what difference they made, and I guess the city employees have contributed a lot too, and I wondered then, would there be some kind of program we could compensate good ideas for employees if they do come up with money saving? Just something to think about in the upcoming talks that we have for budget.
Anything else? Chris?
In the executive summary that was sent out, there were the minutes from the North Alert. On December 20th, there was a note in there about a bill not being approved for payment to the city of Norway. Do you,
There were questions as to what it was. It was about it was some repair work done to the ambulance. The way it was written up, it wasn't clear what it was for, because it was listed as oil change when it was actually a lot more work that was done and a complete going over the machine as part of an inspection for it.
so we did get paid? for
Yes,
that?
they then paid it the next month.
Okay. Also, there was mention in the executive summary about was it the art grant or mini art grant that we got for the music in the park, which I don't know if Mr. Anderson wants to elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, there's a program I've been looking at the last couple of years, where it's a 50% match, but as you know, we pay for our annual city band performances here at the band shell, and they've been doing that for decades, you know, to have a continuous city band. So what I did was I submitted a grant for the maximum of $4,000 and used that money we were already paying, you know, for our band program for alternate music. So we did receive the $4,000, and you know, it's not no cost, extra cost to the city for that. So what we're going to do this summer is have the other Tuesday, because every other Tuesday is a city band. We're going to have the other Tuesday as different performers coming in for that.
That's all I had, Jeremy.
Mark?
The only thing I got is I'm rather disgusted on the patching. When we had a couple nice days, didn't seem like the patching took place like I thought it should have. Iron Street, the first block off of US 2, is a disaster, and like Mr. Vivio said, the hill is a disaster. We have a lot of patching that I don't know why it didn't get done. We got a new patch box for the back of the truck, and I didn't see any improvements to speak of, major improvements. Chestnut Street is really bad, and I thought we could have utilized it a little more.
Anything else?
Nope.
I have no comments for this evening. Mary, anything you wish to add? Tricia? Jay?
No, nothing to add, thank you.
Ray?
No, I think I'll reserve my comments.
Okay, we will be going into closed session this evening to discuss union contract negotiation strategy. And with that, I'll need a motion to close regular session, go into closed session.
I'll make a motion, we close regular meeting and go into closed session.
Support.
Motion made by Mark, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and there will be no action taken after the